Otherwise,
we got Cory and Hernando.
Hey guys,
how you doing?
Really big fan of the show.
Thanks.
I just wanted to talk about just like crazy conspiracy theories, like the government made AIDS or something like that.
Sure.
And then I want
Why?
you to tell me how much of an idiot I am for believing in 911 truth.
Oh, you're a 911 truther?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
What is the basis by which you think that those claims are true?
I don't believe, I question both sides, but I believe it's probable because how could the buildings fall without, how could the building collapse on itself with just the airplane going into it? I never think
So
that's
basically,
science.
you don't understand it, so therefore you don't buy it. That is the very definition of argument from ignorance or argument from incredulity. I don't know what to, first of all, none of this has anything to do with atheism or any of the things that we would discuss on the show.
It has to do with skepticism.
It has to do with skepticism. We've pointed people to, for example, debunking911.com and other things before. But at this point, I have absolutely no interest in the subject. And people will call and write and say, well, I just don't believe the quote-unquote official story. Okay. Fine. You're entitled.
Okay.
You're either going to believe or not believe whatever your conscience dictates based on the evidence. Until if your point is to try to convince other people of a conspiracy, then you actually need to present the evidence. In which case, let's evaluate it.
I don't have any evidence. I'm just skeptical of all sides.
Well, that's not I'm skeptical of all sides.
Yeah.
That's not skepticism. That's cynicism. Skepticism holds that you do not believe something or accept something until there's sufficient evidence. Now, you may be appropriately skeptical and just you don't have the requisite understanding to be able to assess the evidence and come to a conclusion. But in that case, you're not a conspiracy theorist. You're just undecided.
Yeah. And if that's all you're doing, if you're honest enough to admit, well, I just don't have enough facts at hand to form an opinion one way or another, you should at least say that, and you shouldn't identify, because you'll give people the wrong impression of yourself by saying, oh, well, I kind of believe 9/11 truth claim. Well, because that's an entirely different, kettle of fish right there. There are structural engineers out there who have addressed some of the truther claims, and they'll explain how, yes, indeed, fire can melt steel. But until you have all the facts at hand, the wise thing to do, the properly skeptical thing to do, is not declare yourself to have committed one way or another. So I would just say, look at both sides and get that information from actual scientists and engineers and what have you who have addressed some of the claims of the 9/11 truth movement and really try to understand them. Otherwise, yeah. But thanks. But yeah, that's a skepticism question, not specifically an atheism question.
Yeah, and the thing about it that baffles me is granted, Russell and I have been hard on conspiracy theorists in the past, and in particular, truthers. But if you go back, none of us were sitting here saying we support the quote-unquote official story, and it's absolutely correct. All we were doing in any of those cases was saying, you're making a statement about what actually happened that you're not providing evidentiary support for, and we think that that's wrong. You're certainly not going to convince us. But.
And we have, you can go ahead. We have heard from people who are 9/11 truthers who take the view that the official story should be denied or should be viewed with skepticism simply because it is the official story.
Yeah.
But that is an irrational basis to be a believer in the conspiracy theory version of events of that day. It does not follow that simply because something is the official story, it must be untrue. It must be a cover-up.
Yeah.
So